Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to the Friday Discourse for today, November 4th, 2022. I'm your host, Tristan. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new and old show, I suppose. My name is Tristan. I'm the host of Step Back, which you can find at stepbackhistory.com, or the co-host of the podcast, It's Probably Not Aliens, which can be found at probsnotaliens.com. I stream, and now this is a standing thing because we had to make some switches, not only because I had some switch-ups with my babysitter's schedule, but also Mia, being a politician now, has some, different commitments and stuff like that. So it worked out best for us that now we're going to be streaming the Discourse. Maybe we should just call it the Discourse. That'd be a fun show name. But we do it Fridays at noon. If you wish to support my work, you can go to patreon.com/stepbackhistory. For as little as 84 cents a month, you get videos early with bonus content, as well as Q&A sections, all sorts of fun stuff. We've got channel membership. That is a thing. Twitch Prime, if you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime subscription per month, where at no extra cost to you, you can actually help an independent channel out that you enjoy. And if you choose Step Back, I'd be very grateful, but please use it, or else Amazon's just keeping your money. And if you do have a little bit of cash, super chats, bits, and Twitch subscriptions are all loved and welcomed. And, all of it is going to be going into paying for a baby to be made happy, including in a few months when he goes to daycare. And daycare is very expensive, as I know. If you want to keep up on content that's going on, my latest video is part 2 in my series on Russia. It's on Putin's Russia and the lead up to the invasion of Ukraine. My next video, which should be coming out next week, theoretically next Friday, actually, and that is going to be on... why am I blanking? I recorded it literally yesterday. And I was editing it today. It is about the apocalypse. Specifically about American culture and its strange, strong resonance with the apocalypse and the reactionary conservative currents of the United States, and all of that, how all that came together in Y2K, and talking about Y2K. It'll be very fun. I assure you, it's a good video. If you want to submit questions for streams, we have a handful of questions. We don't have a ton, but they are beefy ones. If you want to submit questions, I have a link that'll be on screen the entire stream, but I also put a link in the chat where you can go to submit a question to my question board. If I don't answer it this episode, I do keep all of them as I keep all my stream questions for a month. So, and they're prioritized based on, first come, first serve with a bit of a spam deterrent. That is I'll get to it most likely, unless my streaming schedule gets really messed up or you ask an obscene amount of questions. Yeah. And of course, if there's anybody who it's their first time watching, which because this is on a different day might be the case. This is your first time watching the Discourse. You know what? I think I'm just gonna buy into that now. This show is the Friday Discourse is not as fun as the Discourse. So I am renaming the stream because I think that is actually a decent branding name. There you go. Now the stream has been renamed. So, so what I'm saying is, if this is your first time watching the Discourse, please make yourself known in the chat because we have a really great chat community. And as you'll notice that in both chats, there is a bot whose job it is to make sure that everything posted to Twitch and YouTube get reposted to each other so you guys can both talk. So, yeah, good times. All right. And now, without further ado, I know what you guys are really here for. I know who you really want to see. We are going to get the Ice Queen on right now.
Oh? Oh
Hello.
God. Does it work?
You are. Yes, there you are. You made it.
Hello.
You're what's
Hi.
it called? You're low FPS, but I think that is because you were like currently encoding a video.
Oh no, is that what? Am I seriously low FPS? No.
A little bit, but not enough to be terrible. Uh,
Shit.
as long as your audio's
I mean,
not lagging, I think we'll be okay. We'll see.
we'll see. I might postpone the rendering if it becomes an issue.
Okay. Well, Mia,
Hi. Hi
hello.
hi everyone.
It's Freya's day.
It is Freya's Day.
Um,
Good catch.
yeah.
I'm
So
just gonna give Discord all of my CPU power so it has priority.
nice. Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for being so cool about the date change, because it turns out that just as you were saying that we needed to change the date, I then had to have my date forced changed too, so it all worked out.
Oh, perfect. That's good for
Yeah.
us.
I had a babysitter who watched the baby for about 10 hours a week so I could make video. And then she got a new client, so she had to change her schedule. So now she only comes in on Wednesdays, and I changed my weekend around. So now my weekend is Sunday, Monday, and I work on Saturdays. So I have 2 days where
Oh,
I don't have Bay so that I can do content.
gotta do content.
Gotta do content. The content must flow. Um, the content melange must keep happening, or else we'll never.
Truly, truly a cursed concept, by the way, of content melange.
Yeah. Should note, I'm doing my project for this year for my reading diet is
Hmm.
this is the year where I finish all the series that I started.
Good.
So I am now currently knee deep right now in a book about honored matres and controlling an interstellar empire through sex, and also space Jews. So I did not expect.
You're that deep into the Dune universe now, huh?
I did not expect space Jews to be a thing. I like it's like the only society from old Earth that's still around is just the Jews, and I'm like
The Jews.
the Jews. They're just here.
Jews in space.
Yeah, and Frank Herbert gave them definitely a little bit of a Protocols of the Elders of Zion twist to them, where it's like, yeah, in order to stay
Oh
alive,
God.
we had to always operate with secret conspiracies and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, Frank,
Don't do that.
we talked about this.
God, I forgot about the space Jews. Like I've completely forgot about them. It's been a long time since I've been that deep
Yeah,
into Duniverse.
this is like the part where if you read enough Dune, you get to this part of the book series and things start getting like you're like, I just got to see it to the end. I have to see where this goes. Luckily, I find
Yeah.
out that Frank Herbert died, leaving his last book on a cliffhanger. So that's fun.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see where that
Don't
goes.
don't worry. His son Brian Herbert picks up the slack and is definitely just as good as his dad.
I seem to recall reading a good chunk of the Butlerian Jihad and being, it was kind of mid, but also, Frank Herbert also, let's just say it's been a tough slog since God Emperor.
It is.
It's definitely a series that is past its prime at this point. feel like all, I feel like all of the themes and ideas that Dune was supposed to be about were resolved in God Emperor. That was what, like,
Yeah.
everything that Dune was supposed to be about was like you could write a good story that is like leading up to God Emperor and ends at the end of God Emperor.
God Emperor is the third one, right? If I remember
Fourth.
correctly. Fourth, yeah. So like, yeah, like I mean that's basically all you need essentially for like all the themes.
Yeah.
Because the first one is good on its own, and then if you add up until God Emperor, then it's like, yeah, like as you say, the themes are wrapped up and everything.
It's actually
And
beautiful.
then
You can
that's when
actually
you get weirder.
you can enjoy Dune as a single book. You can enjoy Dune as a trilogy going up to Messiah, and you can enjoy it up to quadrilogy with what's it called, with God Emperor, and then afterwards, it's just like
A slog,
well,
a battle.
it's just that Frank Herbert starts getting really horny, and
Yeah.
I somehow suspect started going through a messy divorce because he starts having opinions about women. Because as soon as in his later books, he introduces a whole faction of basically Bene Gesserits who have turned into an evil empire that control men through sex. And I'm like,
Yeah, he becomes who's the guy who made The Room?
Tommy Wiseau.
Tommy Wiseau. Yeah, he becomes Tommy Wiseau of science fiction.
Oh, someone's right. Yeah, the Messiah is the second one. The trilogy is Children of Dune.
Mm.
I always got that mixed up because my first introduction to the Duneverse was the mini series on Sci-Fi.
Surprisingly good series.
Yeah. Isn't
it known as sort of like the, I guess now, second best adaptation of Dune, because the Dune movie is pretty fucking good.
Yeah, although there are a lot of people who stand by the '84 film, but it is a strange thing, especially the part where the Minecraft characters fight each other with knives.
Oh yeah, that's good. God, their interpretation of I love their interpretation of so many things.
What I think the best Dune movie...
That's a good fucking movie, though.
Yeah. The best Dune adaptation is definitely that one that never got made by someone who did not and had no intention of ever reading the books and was just sort of basing the entire book or the entire movie on vibes.
Just vibes. And honestly, it probably would have been better than the David Lynch one.
Yeah. For real. But, and now, I don't know, we'll see. I feel like, and then also, we were both big fans of the Denis Villeneuve adaptation.
Yeah.
But
I will say though that like my first introduction to Dune was the Emperor Battle for Dune video game series, which is made by the same people who made Red Alert.
Yes, I also got introduced to Dune through Dune 2000, which is just a Dune painting, a Dune reskinning of Tiberian's son, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it kicks ass.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's like, listen, it's so fucking good because they keep the aesthetics from the '87 movie. They decided to just roll with that aesthetic.
Yeah,
and the fact that, because like in Battle for Dune, they still have like the full like live action cutscenes, which is like Westwood's thing that they do, and I don't know, it just works so well.
Yeah, I think so. So here's a spicy take I have. So I was thinking about how, in the wake of the Denis Villeneuve movie, there's been a sort of rehash of making Dune game adaptations. Like there's the new Dune Imperium board game. There was a re-release of the old 1970s Dune board game that is apparently like a real slog.
Yeah, it's gigantic. It takes 4 days to play.
Yeah. Then there's also a new Dune RTS that's on the way.
No, it's out. I think Spice Wars.
Oh, Spice Wars. Oh, Spice Wars. Yeah. They're getting sued by the very short-lived late '90s RTS that was a official tie-in to the Spice Girls.
God.
But yeah,
Spice Girls RTS.
Yeah,
that's just Red Alert 3.
That's the most '90s thing you can think of. The Spice Girls RTS.
Yeah.
The Westwood.
I stand by my joke though that's just Red Alert 3, considering how
wacky that one got. That's the one with George Takei.
That one got. That's the one with George Takei, and also where all the women strip for you when you finish a campaign.
Oh my goodness.
Which is such a weird. It's such a blatant like pandering to male gamers, because I remember playing it and just being like, I was having a good time like playing around with like Japanese mechas and like serving George Takei, and now I have to endure like male fantasy stripteases at the end.
It's kind
Give
of
me
like,
more mecha.
Yeah, it's sort of weird in like the sense that like The Witcher is like I'm reading those books, and the Witcher books are like pretty, woke in a lot of interesting ways. Like, it's a lot of like why racism and sexism are bad, and like why we should stop judging people by how they look and stuff. But then the first 2 Witcher games, like, see, Project Red made it so that like seducing women was like a collectible card game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this seems out of tune with like the very explicit feminist themes in the Witcher books.
Yeah.
Speaking of women stripping for George Takei, did you know that George Takei was recently in a Lower Decks episode? And
really?
I just saw it today.
God,
it's really great.
I need to catch up with all the content. There's too much content. I don't have time.
Yeah, so far it's getting wild because they had the last 2 episodes we watched. One was a D Space Nine reunion where they got Armin Shimmerman and what's her name, Nana Visitor, to come back for an episode where the where the Cerritos goes to D Space Nine.
Nice.
Yep. And Boimler is really good at Davo, apparently.
I can see it.
And then they also then the next episode they do a sequel to the sort of the Star Trek movie episode they did in season 1, where it's just all pastiches and making fun of Star Trek movies. And they do make a reference to like, this isn't gonna, like, this is a sequel to the, like, because Boimler makes a sequel to the one that she made in 2 seasons ago, and she's like, this is like a sequel, but it's going to be non-canon. Like, is this going to be like a thing where you're going to reset the timeline and recast everybody with younger actors? And I was like, oh man, okay,
very fun.
But that has a George Takei in it.
Every time we talk about Star Trek, I have to beat myself over the head over the fact that I haven't seen it, because they're all good. All the Lower Decks episodes are pretty much fine. They're fun. And I never do it. I never have time.
Oh, Pinball Witch, thank you for the $5 super chat. I missed the start of the Dune talk. Tristan, did you enjoy the bit of trivia I told you about on Twitter? Oh yeah, that was wild. When I found out that apparently Frank Herbert was a Republican speechwriter for a good chunk of his career, but also is apparently related to Joseph McCarthy.
How?
He was like a second. He was like second or third cousin to Joseph McCarthy, but he was close enough that he referred to him as an uncle.
That's very funny, actually.
And then also, like, you know, you learn a lot. Like, Frank Herbert had shit politics, so he was like a conservative. Oh, yeah. He was super homophobic. I mean, God Emperor of Dune has like a crap ton of homophobia in it.
Oh yeah, like all the Dune books do.
Yeah. Which
is so weird and fun. Like, it's not fun in that sense, but it's so interesting to sort of see such an interesting, like, titan of sci-fi also be kind of bigoted in some ways.
It's weird how, like, so much of modern science fiction was built on these, like, this handful of authors who rose to prominence in, like, the 60s and 70s, and they're all shitty. Like, your Heinleins and your Heinleins, your Herberts. I don't know about H.G. Wells was like 200 years ago, but whatever.
H.G. Wells had problematic politics in that he didn't see Prussians as people.
Yeah. He had that Victorian racism where he had like blocks in his city that he thought he was racist against.
Oh yeah. He's very racist against the Irish.
Yeah, Heinlein was basically a fascist is the problem. Oh, the other person I was thinking was Orson Scott Card is another example of like these like titans of science fiction who are all just really shitty.
Yeah.
Given that it's like
what fiction do lefties write?
I think the fact is that in the mid-century, left-wing people didn't get published.
Yeah, fair. Good point.
I think that...
I guess it's like Orwell, and that's it. They got Orwell, and that's like, enough. No more.
Yeah. Yeah, Ursula Le Guin, yeah. But she also, if I remember correctly, Le Guin couldn't really get published until like the 80s, even though she had been writing for decades. Like, because, yeah, there's too much Cold War for her to really, like, break through that early. But yeah, Ursula K. Le Guin is great. Isaac Asimov. Is Asimov problematic? I don't know. He seems like the most like he of the group of the like classic sci-fi authors, he was like the Minecraft kid. where he was just like, I just like to play, he's the Roblox. He just like, I just gonna make my little house here. I'm just gonna do my own. Like I feel like the idea of Asimov having a opinion on politics feels weird because most of his thoughts were about robots.
Yeah.
Or yeah, Philip K. Dick. Philip K. Dick has leftist politics in a lot of his stuff. That is true. Just the thing is that he obscured it by just not knowing what plot is, and so nobody could follow anything he was writing enough to have to make a to see leftist themes.
Bless.
I think the best example to explain Asimov is that in the Star Trek, in the Deep Space Nine episode, he was played by what's it called? He was played by O'Brien, and I feel like that works.
I can see it.
And I think they even say like he just likes robots. It's fine. But yeah, Star Trek is good right now. Every time there's a new Lower Deck season, good stuff's happening, and I always kick myself for not watching it sooner.
It's always good shit.
Yeah, and I also do think there's some stuff in the latest episode that I think is setting up something that I am... All right, this is a fan theory. Extreme fan theory, everybody. Super duper fan theory. There is a new comic book, an in-canon comic book that is coming out soon, or is already out. I think the first issue's out. And there's a little bit at the end of Lower Decks that sets this up that makes me think two things are going to be the case, and they could be awesome. That could redeem the Section 31 show. Specifically, one, that it might feature the Defiant.
Yes, that's always fun.
Because they're now heavily implying that the Defiant has become a Section 31 ship. Because of the cloak.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And then two, that one Benjamin Sisko might be involved with it.
Ooh.
Because they're doing a whole comic book series about basically Sisko's return. And they even, in the Deep Space Nine episode of Lower Decks, made reference to like, oh yeah, like he's going to come back someday. Don't worry about it.
That's fun.
So yeah, I think that they got Avery Brooks for something, and I think it might be the Section 31 show.
That might be really fun, actually.
Yeah.
I can see him working very well in a Section 31 show. He has this sort of like skulking energy that you'd need.
What's it called? He did in the Pale Moonlight, which was a very Section 31 move. So I feel like he could do it. He could carry a show like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And can you imagine him with what's her name? Philippa Georgiou as a main cast character?
They would have amazing repertoire, I feel like.
Yeah. This is me dreamcasting. Like, you get your Sisko, you get your former Terran Emperor, and also because, like, what's it called? Sisko's got a lot of ties with the Mirror Universe stuff, too.
Yeah.
And he knows the Mirror Universe post-Terran Empire stuff, right?
Yeah. Because he knows it, like, way from her future.
Yeah.
Shit.
Now, can Nana Visitor come back as disaster bisexual Kira? Or did they kill her in one of the episodes? I can't remember.
No, I think
Dominatrix Kira.
Kira. I don't know.
Because it was very obvious she was having a lot more fun playing that character than Kira.
Yeah. She was living in that role as evil Kira.
That show also begs to
Those were good episodes. Like, I know that like the villainization of like LGBT characters is like such a common trope that's like really problematic. But at the same time, it's like evil gays are good.
Yeah.
I love to see it, and she loved it to play it. It was so good.
So it's like how I was begging that like they did so much world building in the Mirror Universe and Discovery, and I was like, I am begging you, instead of doing the space CIA episode, do a show about the resistance against the Terran Empire in the beginning of the the Alliance and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
A Mirror Universe show that's explicitly about fighting fascism would be exactly what this universe needs right now.
It's basically just Andor.
I haven't watched Andor yet. I've heard only amazing things.
Andor is fucking great. It's maybe the best Star Wars content I've ever seen.
Ooh.
Like it's better than any movie. It's the best of the shows. Like
That's fascinating.
it's really fucking good.
Now, the last time that there was good Star Wars content, the fans hated it, and they immediately, basically, never engaged with its themes ever again. So I'm a little
and this
worried.
one has mixed viewership as well, because anything that's more complicated than lightsaber go bzzzt is not fun for Star Wars fans.
In my esteem, Star Wars rarely, it's one of those things where it's like, you watch it once and you just like kind of let it wash over you. Star Wars rarely ever gets good. The only time it ever really got like good was The Last Jedi, where it was like, hey, this movie has ideas. It's saying something, especially something about our obsession with nostalgia right now. And then, yeah. But if Andor is good, that would be great. I do sense that I imagine it has a limited lifespan because the planet itself has a lifespan.
How do you mean?
Isn't Andor doesn't it take place on isn't that like Princess Leia's homeworld that gets blown up?
Oh, no. So Andor is the name of the guy. I mean, it does have a limited lifespan, but have you seen Rogue One?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember Cassian? Cassian?
Yeah, he was like the rebel that was like a terrorist, basically.
Yeah, it's like his origin story.
Okay.
Because his name is Cassian Andor.
Okay, that sounds good.
So it's more about him. So like we know he dies eventually, but it sort of shows how he became involved with the rebellion, which is really good because it also shows like the beginning of the rebellion generally, sort of like how
that's cool.
How and why that rebellion even got started in the first place.
Nice, an Antifa TV show. I like it.
Yes, for real. They have a guy in it whose whole shtick is he writes manifestos about like about sort of like the point of revolution. That's his whole thing. He basically is like a Twitter poster, like a lefty Twitter poster who just like figures out sort of like the role of mercenaries in the revolution and like trying to figure out revolutionary politics within the galaxy. It's really fucking good.
Space Lenin? Okay, I'm down. Feels like Rogue One was one of those movies that it didn't come together as it should have. And I sense there was a lot of studio meddling that it caused that. But like Rogue One had like all of the parts of a really good movie, and then it just didn't come together as well as it should have. But there was so many good things that were like, it was a movie that it feel like they were afraid to let it be a heist movie. And because they needed to establish too many things. And I was like, just let it be the heist movie it needed to be. Like, don't make it a high adventure movie. Just do... Because a heist as like a genre fits in so well with what Star Wars goes for, which is that like... It's fast, it's adventure, you don't think about anything for more than a couple seconds. It's just like, bam, 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 bam. Like if you ever watch like A New Hope, you're like, this movie moves so goddamn fast.
Yeah. I legitimately like Andor though, because like it has heist elements, and it's like many of the good parts from Rogue One. But like it feels like there's so much less studio meddling. I don't know if that's true or not, but it feels like it, because you know how like all the new Star Wars shows have been shot on this like weird wall that they like this new technological wall.
It's a new thing that everybody's into. Like all of the new Game of Thrones show was filmed on it too. These they're like LCD. Like instead of doing blue screens now, they're doing LCD sets where they can like turn the entire backdrop into whatever they want.
And I personally fucking hate it. I think it's trash and I think it's stupid because all the sets look bland and generic and like computer generated, because they all are, and none of the characters run anywhere and don't feel like they belong in a space because they just belong in front of a screen. That's my problem with like House of the Dragon. That's my problem with like a bunch of the other ones. This one is like the only Star Wars show that's shot on location. Yeah. It's like the only one. It still uses it a little bit, but like they go to like Scotland and shit, and they go like, hey, isn't it weird how imperial power structures destroy indigenous culture and communities for profit motives?
Man, that does.
And just like, yeah, it is. Fuck, I love Andor. I'm gonna rewatch it.
Although I'll push back, the House of the Dragon is decent. I actually like it.
It's good, but it's the the sets are trash. It's really good. The
true.
acting is good, the writing is good, sets are trash.
Every
compared to Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Every time they try to film a dragon riding scene, it's awful.
Yeah.
But like it's the closest
or like
we'll ever
anything
get
with
to,
Dragonstone.
It's the closest we'll ever get to a Crusader Kings TV show, I think, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So does it? If it has all the best parts of Rogue One, then it has Polar Express Grand Moff Tarkin, then?
No, it doesn't. But it does have. It does have a lot of Imperial. It has the Imperial Security Bureau as a big part of it, which I really like, and potentially an incel character, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like, it forgoes things that like kind of don't work and sort of embraces everything that does work. Also, this is like the only show where like no one actually expects a fucking Jedi to show up and save the day, which is great. There's been no Force using. There's been no mention of like the Force.
You know, I actually kind of
Great.
yeah. I feel like I get it because like the problems with Rogue One was one, they shoved the Force into it. Two, it had too many characters. But the thing is that the characters were interesting. So the problem is, and I think that what it goes for is that back then Star Wars was really focused on making movies, and Rogue One should have been a TV show with like a big, because like you didn't get enough time to get to know all the cast of characters and like have those feelings for them, so that when they die and like bad stuff happens to them, you feel it, because like they ended up having like 10 main characters, and some of them were great, like the robot that like has somehow figured out sentience. And like, yeah, it's.
But like honestly, I honestly think you'd love Andor. If that's how you feel about it.
It's high on my list. I just I don't. If there's a show on my list of TV shows that is something that I don't think Kelly would like, I will be very slow at watching it because I just don't watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm still trying to get through Stranger Things.
Fair.
And that was just after finishing The Boys. That was only like a couple months ago or so. Okay.
Good on you for catching up.
Yeah, so we do have some questions that we should probably answer at some point. I know people.
Yeah,
like,
probably.
People like when we.
Sorry for.
People like when we talk about things that are not just our sci-fi fan nerding out that we do, but it is a required part of the discourse. I decided that the rebranding of this show should just be the discourse.
The Discourse. Every other Friday, the Discourse.
Yeah. So that's that. So all right. Interesting. Okay, let's see. If this is a question that's still in the system, ignore this. I'm just not sure if it's been a month since asking it and if it got deleted. This is a question for Mia. Now that you are a Thane of Stockholm,
yes.
What is your house Carl like? Did you buy the Breeze home since you are now allowed to buy land?
I don't have a house call yet. We're actually doing interviews. Not a joke. I'm having interviews for staff, let's say, next week. We were supposed to have this week, but unfortunately everything got moved around because people got sick and I got sick and everything. But no joke, I am hiring a house Carl. Well, not me, but like the party is hiring one for me that actually like does all the hard work of politicking. Because my job is really supposed to just be like a person who comes up with ideas and like leads the party, and then I just outsource all the paperwork to someone else.
Do they actually?
So I'm actually doing that next
Carl?
week. No, we don't call it a house call. It's a political secretary, which is like less interesting, but.
Okay, that's cool
still.
though. That I've only ever had to hire somebody once in my life, and it was when I was hiring a babysitter, and it was a much lower stakes situation.
Well, the good thing is that the only reason why it's a weird thing this time is this is a fun municipal story. The municipality where I live in recently decided that political secretaries should be paid for full-time positions no matter the size of the party. And the majority chose to do this probably because different political secretaries were putting in different amounts of work, which favored big parties because they had political secretaries that earned more money and therefore could put in more work. So they decided that all parties should have a political secretary on full-time, like retainer, so everyone can put in equal amount of work so that small parties still have a chance. And I'm part of a very small party. The left party is not very big. But that also means that there's often like not a ton of stuff to do. So what's going to end up happening is that like even though like I'm a politician and I still do things, like I technically work half time, some days there's just like nothing to do. And like the political secretary is going to have that same problem. Where you just turn up to the office one day, or I guess don't even do that, but like you just wake up one day and like your to-do list is nothing until the next meeting. So
that sounds like a good job.
That's unfortunately that. This is another reason why politicians get paid way too much.
This is what's it like to be part of a government that actually cares about parties having an equal chance and isn't just actively making sure that only two political parties control everything.
Well, that's kind of how it ends up anyway, just because of laziness from most of the small parties.
Everybody's like, I am willing to take on this job. I will do this for you.
Kinda. Like honestly, the small parties in the municipality, in the short time that I've been there, like it's a little bit stunning because I expected all of the parties to like try to make a name for themselves and try to like shoot above their weight. And then in the first couple of meetings that I've been into, the only parties that actually talk are the two big ones. And like I've been kind of quiet because I'm new. I haven't done this before, so I've been like watching and learning. And like unless I have to talk, I rarely do. But like most people don't even do it. Like we had a thing last week where a person from the majority had the majority had a suggestion for how to like reorganize parts of the municipal government, which I thought was a bad idea. A lot of the opposition thought it was a bad idea, and so did some people from the majority as well because they didn't understand their own suggestion, their own proposal. So,
jeez,
like. Municipal politics are so interesting because a lot of the time, like people just don't care or like they don't put in the work. So that's frustrating.
This gives me some hope because I wanted to. You could probably tell me how difficult or an uphill battle this will be. I want an intersection. There's one place where I cannot be alone in this, have to like play Frogger across a busy street because the only intersections are like half a kilometer in either direction.
Oh my god.
And so I'm like, I want, just give me a cross light here, please. And I don't know how much work that's going to be.
Yeah. Probably a lot of work for someone, but not your politician. Probably. I think countries that have first past the post work a bit differently because we're a fair number of people like in the municipal government. I feel like if you're in a first past the post electoral system, then it's like you vote for one person, and then that person has like a staff. So that one person is sort of like running on doing the work, whereas here it's more like you have to show up. So I feel like there's probably different barriers here. This is actually one of the few advantages of the first past the post system, I think, is because people who don't want to do the work obviously don't get elected and then don't get hired for staff. So
interesting.
Yeah.
You're learning so much. You have so much to offer. You should probably
sorry about the ranting from a who's called question, but
this is a good like you should somehow turn I don't know when you'd be allowed to do this, but good content that's from like all of these people who just kind of posture and talk about like what politics is actually like would be pretty useful.
My upcoming video after the one I'm rendering right now is going to be about alternate history fiction, but the one after that is going to be about electoralism and like government and elections. Yeah, so I'm probably going to be able to make a lot of content there.
Sweet. Yeah, my next few videos are going places. I don't know why I decided that I'm just going to do the most random shit for the next few months. So there you go.
Sometimes you just got to do random shit.
Yeah, I'm doing one right now on Y2K, a topic literally nobody asked about. But
The one I'm rendering right now is about Tartaria and the mud flood. Also, no one gives a shit.
Okay.
Sometimes you gotta do that.
Yeah, though it's about why it seems like Americans are so susceptible to thinking apocalyptically,
Ooh.
and about why the apocalypse, like why something so small made such a huge impact in the U.S. and why so many people thought the world was ending over something that they didn't even understand.
Yeah.
And so like it's
Stunning.
It's actually part of the White Power series, weirdly enough. Because I talked to a bunch of experts on militias, and everyone was like, all the experts were like, "Oh yeah, Y2K was like a huge deal for them. You have to talk about it." And I'm like, "Oh,
Oh, that's so interesting. I can't wait to see that.
yeah, it's coming out next week." But since you are a patron, you'll be getting it probably tomorrow, and you also are Nebulon, so you probably can watch it free on Nebula.com or Nebula.app. Or I don't remember which one we're supposed to be using now.
I don't know.
Go just type Nebula on your keyboard until it shows up somewhere. So
I'm actually surprised that it shows up on Google when you Google Nebula, because like I would think that like a galactic nebula would be the thing that actually comes up, but no, it's actually the streaming service.
Mm-hmm.
Good job on like the people who do SEO for our company.
Yeah. My streaming service, I kind of know how it works. Enough that I can call it my streaming service.
I have no clue.
It's part of the copy. But the other one I'm doing after that is my big Red Brown Alliances video, which has morphed into why the political compass is fucked, and it's making us all really stupid about politics.
I agree. I've been thinking about making a similar video like that for like years, so I'm looking forward to seeing that.
And it came from like me studying the contradictions of the political compass for 2 years, which is like people like Alexander Dugin, Nick Land,
Dugin
has Caleb Mopin, Peter Coffin, Glenn Greenwald,
all the weird people, yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy Dore. All of those people. They don't make sense with a political compass. So that'll be a fun one. And then I'm doing the for January. There's always been trans people, which is a video that I'm very hard at working. It's going to be my my feel good video about how trans people have always existed and they belong and they are part of the human tapestry. And it's going to be
that is the one that I'm gonna do something for you, right?
Yes, because you can't talk about the history of trans people without talking about Magnus Hirschfeld, and you're the #1 person to talk to about Magnus Hirschfeld.
In the trans YouTube space, I feel like I've become the Hirschfeld person.
You're
which
a
I'm very glad about.
Hirschfeldologist.
It's what I would have wanted.
Yeah. So like that's gonna be my. That's just gonna be my. But I want that to explicitly be a wholesome, good video that does not doomer and tells people that they belong and that they are good, because I feel like there's a lot of young trans kids today that really need to hear that.
Yeah, we need more
hope,
hype, good feel videos.
Yeah, and January is probably the
There's
most
too much
depressing month.
doomer shit
to do it.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what the second question is. Do you think that it would still be important for people in the U.S. to protest the GOP's agenda, even violently if needed, even if they achieved effective one-party control? The other day, actually today, but I know you won't read this for a week or so. Tricks on you. I didn't read this. This question was submitted almost 2 weeks ago.
Ha.
You responded to one of my questions about progressive American resistance by saying that there will be massive protests, but rights will probably be ground away anyway in the long run. I feel like that can be taken as saying the fascists will win in the long run, so why fight? I don't think that's what you meant. Okay. No, I'm what's it called? I think that what's it called? Resistance in even hopeless situation is important because, like, you don't, like, how do I say this in the right way? Like, if you think about it, groups like the French Resistance, La Résistance, were also in a situation where there was no possible way that they could win. But they did it anyway, and they were instrumental for defeating fascism in France. And, you know, maybe it sounds like Andor is going to have a thing to say about this situation.
Yes. I mean, what's that quote? Like the divine right of kings also seemed unescapable.
Yeah. Or everything
Like-
seems impossible right up until it's inevitable.
Yeah. There's a good XKCD comic too, where like everything has never happened before until it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like and that's the case with everything.
Yeah. The world needs partisans. So yeah, like I do think that even if like you know that it's not going to deter anybody who is in power, you still gotta do it.
Still gotta do it.
And also, in my mind, political change doesn't
Oh,
often
God.
happen. Sorry?
No, sorry. You keep going.
Just political change doesn't often happen because you elected the right people into office, no offense. But it has more to do with, like, more political change happens because you have made those in power upset. And you have, like, scared them into doing something. That is, like... That's why, like, civil rights activists and protesters and rioters have done more to make politics better than any, election campaign.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you gotta make politicians scared. I'm glad that I'm in opposition because my job is to make that scaredness more because I'm not technically in power.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, you were about to say something.
No. I just said this. Like, I just realized that like I am a person who has been elected, which I just find it's still one of those things that like it's a bit surreal for me to even think about.
Mm-hmm. It's like unfortunate. It gives me hope because I thought like, hey, with my social media background, there is zero hope for me if I ever entered into city politics to get my entire platform is to get that one intersection, and then I'll resign. No, but I think that the people were always telling us that our social media feeds were going to doom us for any future prospects in anything that was public, and it seems like that's not the case anymore.
No. I mean, the fact that I have been elected and no one has like gone through my old tweets yet is frankly a miracle.
You ever run, if what's it called, you ever go into higher office and they're just like, what are you saying here when you're posting this picture of, I'm trying to think of a good one. Like it says here that you,
I posted a lot of shit.
It says here that you're a fanatic purifier who wants to purge the Xenos. Can you explain?
Can you explain that? What does that mean?
Yeah.
You posted here something along the lines of like wanting to encourage furries. Can you explain this for the electorate?
Yeah, can you imagine if you're like at like in a debate or something like that, and you're like, can you explain your pro furry policy?
Okay, but honestly though, that would be the best thing that ever happened in politics.
Yeah, that would be interplanetary news. That would go everywhere. That video.
Yeah.
The only problem is that
I gotta post more about furry stuff now, so that will I need to manifest this into happening.
Yeah.
Good
Unfortunately,
idea.
it would all be in Swedish, so it would just be like bork, 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 furries, bork, borky, bork, iski purdy tordy scene.
Yeah.
That's me being a dick. I'm sorry.
Borky, borky, bork, nodding. Borky, borky, bork, furry.
Okay, let's see what we got next. Would you be in favor of Canada acquiring nuclear weapons in the future to ward off American annexation? Interesting.
All out. I don't want to set the world.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, Canada actually once had nuclear weapons, and then we gave them up.
Wait, really?
I
didn't know that.
I mean, well, the Americans put silos in our country, basically. So we had nukes in the same way Turkey did.
Yeah. All right.
Because there was this whole thing. We collaborated with the U.S. on something called the DEW line, which was the Defense Early Warning Line, which was a line of radar stations in the Arctic to detect ICBMs coming over the North Pole from, I don't know, what country's on the other side of the North Pole from Canada? I can't remember. Anyways, probably had something to do with the Cold War. And I think they had nukes in there in that situation, but we gave them up for reasons that I can't remember. I think that Trudeau, when he got into office, probably was like, because Trudeau was very like nationalistic and was against like the UK and America telling us what to do, so we might have gotten rid of them. Sort of in the late 60s. But yeah, I don't think that making large parts of our country uninhabitable is a way to win against American annexation. I don't really want to be the king of the, or I don't want Canada to survive, but then 3 billion people die in nuclear winter, so I'm good.
The entity of Canada will survive, but not the people.
Yeah. Because nuclear weapons are one of those things that's just like, there's nobody who wins in that situation.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we haven't touched it's a hot stove we have yet to touch before we learn that lesson.
Yeah. I've been getting a lot of what to do in case of nuclear war TikToks, and because we're about to join NATO, Swedish Discourse has gone into should we have nuclear weapons based in Sweden to ward off the Russians? And it's a great situation to be in, because I love making myself into a nuclear target.
Yeah. The world's about to get very interesting in the next few years, I think. It seems like Cold War II is starting to draw its lines. It seems that the new Warsaw Pact is going to be BRICS, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because a bunch of new countries just tried to join BRICS, which is sort of if anyone doesn't know, that's sort of the association of states that are supposed to be countering American power. It's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But I guess it's supposed to be getting bigger. But apparently, so you know how Iran is having some issues right now.
Some issues, yes.
So Iran, in its sort of suppressing of protesters, has now desperate to the point where now they're hiring mercenaries to put down protesters.
Always a good sign.
Yeah. And in order to stop diplomatic pressure being put on Iran from other countries, they're apparently been caught attempting to fuck with Saudi energy assets so that everybody would still be reliant on Iranian oil. And Saudi Arabia being an American ally, and Iran being a Russia/Chinese ally. It's oh, interesting what confluence of what this is. If we are in another Cold War, if we're now having another proxy conflict, this is how every Cold War conflict went down. So
yeah,
seems that Xi Jinping's sort of more bulldogish foreign policy is starting to really come together.
Oh, Xi Jinping.
Did you see that whole thing where Hu Jintao got fucking escorted out by security? Holy shit. Unfortunately,
that's really peak drama, but holy Christ, that is fucked up.
Yeah, that would be if Trump at his inaugural address had Barack Obama escorted away on by security or something. China's
carried away.
Yeah, China's not very open with its internal politics, so we don't really know what's going on exactly, but turns out Stalinist countries are the same no matter where you go. Their internal politics seem to act the same way.
Yeah. Well, what's a communist party without some purges?
Yeah. All right. So to answer your question, Hayden, no nukes, s'il vous plaît. I feel
yeah, nukes bad.
Overall bad for everybody, including non-Canadians and humans in general. All right. Thoughts on the Young Turks and Jacobin's publisher turning right and arguing in favor of undoing bail reform and locking up the homeless? Is this a sign that American sock dems are going full Karen? Wait, what? I don't...
What?
Is the Young Turks going anti-homeless now? Or is it... So I guess I don't know. I don't know the truth of... I don't know the facts of this, but apparently the publisher behind Jacobin and the Young Turks is against undoing bail reform. Because right now, America's going... I don't know if you know how America does bail. I know that you tend to keep up with Last Week Tonight occasionally, so you might have seen the more recent piece on it, but...
Yeah, I saw the thing about... I guess I didn't see I guess I don't know the full context, but I know that like there is drama about like whether or not to reform, or like whether or not to revoke the bail reform that is happening across various states and stuff.
You're just getting rid of cash bail, basically.
Yeah, which is good because like cash bail sucks.
Oh yeah, I just googled the Young Turks bail reform. First story is Young Turks' misleading anti-bail reform demagoguery. From Citations Needed, which is I think is like a podcast of some kind, a decent one if I remember correctly. So fun, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
The real news: the Young Turks' embrace of tough on crime demagogue. What has happened to the Young Turks since I stopped watching like 15 years ago? Apparently a lot.
I feel like every time I hear about them, they're always coming up with some new weird opinion. Like this doesn't sound like the first time I've heard of them having.
They started as being incubators
like,
for the dumbest right-wing shitheads, and now, because they're the ones who produced Dave Rubin, right?
I do not know. All I know is that Hassan has been on them.
Hassan's like uncle is the owner of the Young Turks network.
Really?
Hassan's uncle is Cenk Uygur.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Explains a lot.
Yeah. Like, what's it called? Hassan, like, but when he was a kid, like, before he became a streamer, he was basically, like, he was a Young Turks staff guy. And I am very conflicted about how to feel about Hassan anyway. He's like 99% good and then 90% good and then 10%. I'm like, what? What are you doing? I don't understand. I think most of it comes to the fact that I just do not understand what he is and what he is doing.
I get that.
Because I'm like
okay,
100%. You're a socialist Twitch streamer and you have like you're pretty well educated on these subjects. And then it's like, and then you bought $1 million house, and I'm like, okay, but you bought it with all your family and blah blah blah. Then he bought like a Ferrari or something, and I'm like, okay, that one's tough to argue. And then
what do you want me to do with it?
He hangs around with celebrities and stuff like that too, and like he's like just like a full on like Hollywood celebrity now, and I'm like, okay,
yeah, like I don't really know what to think about him either. Like he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, he also
honestly like because I know some people who know him personally, but like he has a vibe that I don't know what to do with.
He gives me a feeling, the same kind of feeling I think I have from knowing both sides of the angle of the Chapo Trap House guys, which is that they have this reputation that is really, really bad, but everybody who I know who knows them thinks that they're like the nicest, coolest people ever.
Yeah. Typical.
Yeah. Also, that's the whole thing. The thing is, like, yeah, he does have that.
I get that, yeah.
But the thing is that means he can speak to the frat house boys in a way that I couldn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never trust sock dems. Well, they're allies in certain cases. I feel like if American political discourse ever gets to the point where the difference between communists and social democrats actually becomes important, that a lot of very important victories have happened.
Yeah. I think you can still say that, like, still shouldn't trust them.
Yeah. I mean,
do you know what I mean? Like, I work with them in like municipal politics as well, but like, I don't think that I would trust them.
Yeah, we all know.
But they don't
what
trust me
happened
either,
to,
so, you know.
we all know what happened to Rosa Luxemburg. So
Yeah.
just remember who was involved with getting Hitler in charge. You know. But yeah, Social Democrats, don't trust.
I love that this is
verify.
a gripe that we're never gonna forgive an entire ideology.
I do. Yeah, I
It's
love
never
how
gonna go away.
the left of politics is, because we are so irrelevant in modern day political discourse, that we're still fighting over shit that happened in like the 1800s and the early 1900s. Like, there's still people, like, leftists are still fucking fighting over we're like, basically all the fights in leftism are still fighting about the things that happened at the Paris Commune with like extra steps. We're still fighting about the Paris Commune and whether it was a good idea. It's silly.
It's very silly.
All right, let's see what we got next.
That is a proud leftist tradition.
Proud leftist, yeah. That's hence why Hu Jintao got escorted out in his the friggin' 5-year plan thing. It is no matter what leftist tendency you are, infighting is the common thread that unites us all.
There's been drama like going on like within my party that I wish I could tell you about, but I shouldn't, like, publicly.
Yeah.
But like, again, yeah, infighting is a proud leftist tradition.
Mm-hmm. I live in a city that has 300,000 people in a liberal riding in a fairly right-wing province in a fairly right-wing country, and we have 2 anarchist groups that don't like each other. And
how is that even possible?
The province and also we have 2 communist parties that also don't like each other because they had a doctrinal difference over Stalin and Mao, basically. Like, back when Stalin and Mao were present tense people.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens here too with the explicitly communist parties. Mm-hmm. It's very fun.
Yeah, see, look, and as I say it, there's already the beginning of fights over the Paris Commune in the chat going on. So,
no, rise above it, chat. You can do it.
It's okay. Proudhon is dead. We don't have to talk about him anymore. Proudhon Proudhon did not know what the internet was.
He could not account for Twitter.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay.
Marx did not consider Twitter lefties.
Yeah, he did not consider furries and the only mass politics left on Earth. All right, what can the USA/Western powers do after seeing Netanyahu get back in power? Actually, never mind. What should they do? Since, let's be real, we'll continue doing what we always do. Yeah, I forgot. Netanyahu somehow is now back in charge of Israel because it had its like 400th election in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean they're taking like the UK is definitely taking inspiration from them. So,
Israel is just part of your daily life now. You wake up, you brush your teeth, you go and vote, and then you go to work for the daily election. And then you go home, you watch the news to make sure that another election has been called for the next day, and you do that because they still haven't been able to put a government back together. This is sort of, I guess, not that I have anything again. I actually think, what's it called? Like proportional representation, far superior system. It does result in these kinds of situations sometimes, though, when the government's too divided and nobody can make a government, and it just leads to cascading elections just one after the other for a while.
Yeah.
And sometimes
it's very funny.
Yeah, and so you have that weird problem where, like, after an election happens, then you have to wait a week to find out who's going to be in charge because they all have to figure out what the new coalition's going to be. Well, like,
that's what happened here too, which was very funny. Where one of the coalitions won the election, and it had to take a week for them to figure out how the coalition was going to be a coalition.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we had a situation where, like, we had the NDP, our like Social Democratic Party, made a deal with the Liberals to like go along with them with some things in response of getting a few things out of the deal. And what happened is, very predictably, the Liberals didn't give them anything that they asked for, and the NDP are still doing what they want. Because the New Democratic Party is awful. It is an awful political party that does not know how. Think about it this way: it's a social democratic party that hires the same PR firm that the Obama campaign had. So you can just imagine what kind of comes out of that machinery.
Truly cursed.
It is truly cursed. like they had like the last leadership race, they had the chance of possibly pushing through their first like Jeremy Corbyn like figure, and like they like to this date they're still actively going to work trying to destroy her and stop like the Socialist Caucus from having any step, to the point where the leader of the party went and did a stump speech in her riding for the Liberal candidate.
Great. Very sustainable.
Yeah. But she was such a badass. During the leadership race, she was pregnant with twins. And it got to the point where the last debate, she was so close to giving birth that she couldn't fly anymore. So she had to go in via Zoom.
It's kind of cool though.
Yeah. And she's from like this like super indigenous like part of Winnipeg. It's like, just let her do the thing. She would have been so much better. Anyways, that's me griping about something that happened in like 2017.
That's what the entire show is about, Tristan. Yeah. Don't worry about that.
Jagmeet Singh is fine. But yeah, so what should Western powers do after seeing Netanyahu get back in charge?
Cry.
Yeah. Like, what are you gonna do? Israel it's just, Israel is not a normal country. It's just like, what do you like
there's not gonna, like, Western powers isn't gonna do anything.
Mm-hmm. This is probably a win for them. Even the last guy,
probably, yeah.
Like, I think even the last coalition was not, like, it was still pretty anti-Palestine, but so like, if it really means nothing at all to them.
Yeah.
It, like, their politics are so like debating over who can be more, or like which one, what degree of anti-Palestine do you want to be?
Oh, perfect. It's just like Swedish politics, but with the Kurds.
Mm-hmm. We learned that we don't like the Kurds just now, in the last few months, and now we have to do this. We have very big opinions about the YPG, us in Sweden, this country in the frozen north. We care a lot about what happens in Kurdistan.
For real though, like, this has been what the last 6 months have been like. Like, suddenly everyone hates the YPG and just like, hold on, when did we decide this?
Yeah, when did we decide we were supposed to have an opinion on the YPG? We're fucking Sweden. Not only a country that is almost as far away from Kurdistan as you can get, but also a famously neutral country who kind of makes it their geopolitical goal to not get involved in other people's shit. Yeah. Which, honestly, one of the better decisions for Sweden.
Yes. Sucks that we can't keep doing it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm very bitter about the fact that we're joining NATO.
Putin scared y'all real good.
Yeah, he did.
I think the only, like, what's it called? Like, it's my thought is that are you familiar with the YouTuber? I think his name's Adam something. Like, the account's actually called Adam something. He's like a Hungarian civil engineering YouTuber.
No.
So
I there's a vague sense of, like, I remember, like, Adam something I have heard, but I don't know of them being like a Hungarian civil engineer.
Yeah, he in my mind is like embodying like the kind of like way that a lot of the left has sort of gone in the European, that Europe had, like all the European media that I know of sort of has gone, where he went from like, I'm documenting all this stuff about civil engineering and why Elon Musk is bad and why all this stuff, and then it's like, now it is all Russia time all the time, Ukraine forever. Like, I'm like, I suddenly decided I care immensely about Ukraine sovereignty.
Really?
Yeah. Because I imagine that it's probably similar because also Hungary is like right by there too, right? So, and Hungary was a freaking Soviet satellite state, so I can imagine there's also something with that too.
Oh, bet. Like, this is not something that like I've experienced directly because like Sweden obviously was not part of either like the West or like the Soviet bloc, but there's a lot of people here from like all over Eastern Europe, and like from what I've learned is that like if you're from Eastern Europe, you have opinions about communism and Russia, And they will be strong, but it won't always be clear about what those opinions are.
Yes.
You're either very pro or very against either Russia and communism, or both, or neither.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we deal with that all the time because we keep, what's it called? The Ukrainian community in Canada keeps having to deal with things like, oh, the Ukrainian community built a, what's it called? They built
Like a
memorial to the SS in their own grave,
Yeah.
their cultural graveyard. Like, yeah, oh, or just like, I know that this is like a little, like, I talked about this a little bit, but it is a little weird that the Ukrainian government can't actually get one publicity photo of their brave troops without finding one hate symbol tattoo somewhere in the picture.
Right.
It's like the Where's Waldo of finding the hate symbol on the Ukrainian soldier, and it's like I'm not what's it called? I'm not like a Russia supporting person. It's just weird that they can't find one picture where they don't find a hate symbol. Like that's. I kind of talked about this in my Is Socialism a Threat video a while back, that like there's in like sort of these former communist countries, there's like this there's kind of a glomming onto the last people in the area who fought communism, and unfortunately for a lot of them that was the Nazis. Like the people in their country and their history and their government who last resisted communism were most of the time the fascist puppet states set up by the Germans when they conquered their country.
Yeah.
And you end up with like Bulgaria's Victims of Communism memorial having a whole bunch of Nazis on them. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh man.
Damn. Eastern European history is complicated because of that.
Yes. But it does.
At least I get the feeling that Zelensky is at least trying to be sort of like to sort of clean up the act a little bit because he knows it looks bad.
Yeah. Like every time they find a Nazi, they let's just say the official Ukrainian government has had to very quickly take down lots of posts on Instagram.
Yes.
And I didn't like that. I did see the other day the Ukrainian government put like a kind of propaganda video out that was like, look at our brave Azov battalion fighting against the Russian hordes. And I'm like, excuse me, you guys have done so much work to try to convince me that they're not important. We don't like them. They just happen to be a semi-official part of the military, and we give them guns and ammunition and supplies. But don't worry about that, because don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Either they don't exist, or they're not that bad, or you know what? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's called. That's why in my video I was like, great. This is the fucking Twin Towers all over again. Thanks. This is gonna be the Mujahideen all over again, where we're giving money to sketchy people that we don't know what they're gonna do with it. Anyways. Adam is sponsored by Scams and Grifters. I did not know that. Oh man, I did not know Adam something had such a heel turn. Interesting. Okay, let's see. Have you all heard the term "red fascist" to describe Marxist-Leninists? Do you have any thoughts on its applicability?
Sorry, what did you say?
Have you all heard the term "red fascist" to describe Marxist-Leninists, or do you have any thoughts on its applicability?
I don't like that term at all.
No, it's sort of...
Because it obfuscates, like, the distinctive ideological traits of Marxism-Leninism that are very different from fascism.
Yes. This is going to be in my video that I bring up, but there is kind of two strains of this. There is, and the typical term is not red fascism, but red brownism, that there are sometimes a sort of disingenuous read of history to try and, like, smear some of the decisions of the Soviet Union in the lead up to World War II. In many ways trying to put as bad a view on the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact as you can, which honestly, not a good look, but there's a lot of caveats to that. But and sort of like sort of a lot of like, you know, Stalinism had Stalinism had a hyper-authoritarian system with a appeal to nationalism as part of its thing, which is like, yeah, There's something a little fashy about a little bit of those things. And then there's so that's one thing, which is mostly a lot of times. I really don't want to sound like I'm a fucking Stalinist here, but a lot of the times this comes off as disingenuous revisionist history by liberals. But then there's like the weird people that I was talking about earlier, like Lyndon LaRouche and Nick Land and Alexander Dugin and Caleb Maupin, who are essentially just fascists who are using communist labels in order to have some credibility.
Yeah.
Turning it up. I have a
Odd.
have
you seen this like MAGA communism stuff, by the way?
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
researching that for the video as well. I just realized the words are coming out. Have I turned into a tanky somehow? Like, please tell me if I have gone too far, please.
No. The Friday Discourse has always been about the immortal science of Marxism, Leninism, right?
Or Stalinism, Malinism,
Our
right?
friend Stalin.
Yeah. Ugh.
This is gonna be quoted in some like right-wing magazine like tomorrow if I keep talking like this.
Yeah.
Even ironically.
Okay. Yeah. I just like. The problem is that I have been following. I said a while back that there's a lot of like that people in my circle, like anarcho-communists, could have a lot, like we have more in common with the quote-unquote tankies than we do with liberals. That's the thing I said that got me in trouble a little while back. Because like there's a lot to learn from like Lenin and stuff like that if you are an anarchist, because even though he called being an anarchist basically an infantile disorder, but whatever. But there's a lot more to learn from them, and as long as they don't friggin' as long as they don't kill Nestor Makhno again, I think we can get over this. Or not kill Nestor Makhno, but attack the Ukrainian Black Army again.
Yeah. Stop doing Kronstadt and like.
Yeah, don't like, Kronstadt. If we promise to not Kronstadt again, I feel like we can work on some things together. But
now I'm gonna play more Victoria 3.
And also, it's really hard. It's hard to the point where I'm like, now this sounds like a video I need to make, because every time I feel like my opinion is going to get me in trouble, I'm like, oh, that's a video I need to make. And that is that Stalin is a bad. Two simultaneous things can be true. Stalin was a bad authoritarian monster and a megalomaniac who twisted all of the institutions that were in a very like kind of nascent state at the beginning of the Soviet Union to serve his personal will, and basically mutilated its structure to the point where the Soviet Union was top-heavy and unstable, and it never really recovered from that. And two, and that anti-communist revisionist historians have gone way out of their way to try and turn Stalin into Hitler too, in a way that is extremely unfair and meant to demonize communism in a way that is ahistorical.
Yes. Are you saying that like nuance exists?
Yeah, two things can be true, and unfortunately that is a tough sell these days.
Yeah. Well, only one thing can be true.
Yeah, only one thing can be true. I sort of said in my latest video that history is super messy, and I think I'm going to have to say that more. Because I said history is really messy and it's hard to do because humans refuse to follow the rules.
Yeah. We never paint within the lines.
No. You name a
We never paint within the lines of ideology.
That's why the entire field of history is people trying to turn it into a science and failing over and over again, because humans just refuse to follow any rules.
This is why people also love talking about like history being cyclical and historians just screaming that like, no, it's not. We would love it if it was, but it never is.
No. And then we could predict things, and we can't.
Yeah.
Just keep fucking with us, reality. Okay. Let me see if there's any more questions we could do. We got tons of questions. We're good. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions and about 40 minutes. I feel like that's easy enough to do. We are in good, comfy pace.
Very nice. Good.
Tristan, what do you think the coolest part of Mia's new job is? Mia, what's the coolest thing or something that pleasantly surprised you? What is the coolest part of Mia's new job? The fact that, first of all, municipal politics is like the only government politics that seems to really matter. Because I would think that it's really cool to be a municipal politician because you can just be like I said, your sometimes a lot of your solutions are like, we need a stop sign here, and it's like there's so many less. You don't have to deal with like the pork lobby or something like that to get a fucking stop sign put there. And it's like, oh, so it's like politics where like it seems like it's a job where, oh, you mean like you can actually talk to the people who are your constituencies and then go and do things and get them done, and then you can just point to that stop sign and be like, I did that. That sounds like it'd be. It feels like if you are a politician who actually wants to help people, that municipal politics is the only politics that makes sense.
Yes, national politics is all performance, and it's a lot more sort of like posturing, unfortunately. Municipal politics is also a lot of posturing, I will say.
So what is something that you found pleasantly surprising about your new job?
I don't know yet. We haven't done much yet since the election. We've had one municipal like council meeting. I've had one meeting with the municipal board, and I've had one meeting with the municipal board, with the municipal work board, which is like the highest part of like the municipal power structure. So like the municipal council is like the parliament, the municipal board is like the government, and the municipal work board is like the cabinet, basically. Mm-hmm. And I'm on all of them because my party decided to make me like the highest ranking politician within the party locally. So okay, here's the thing. The thing that I think find cool is probably the freedom to do whatever you want. Because when you're not in politics, your idea, like, I feel like there are two ways to do politics when you're not in politics. One of them is to sort of fantasize about how the world could look like, potentially, right? Like you think about sort of like how we would structure our society if we had total control. But obviously that can't happen. Like there are so many things that would need to happen before you can actually do those things. And then it's a sort of thing, like, what can you do within the bounds of the rules? So like that's where most activism comes in, where like most people will try to be like, maybe we should do something like this because that's legal and that's allowed, and maybe we can like twist and bend the rules a little bit so things work. But when you're in politics, something that I've realized is like you make the rules. So like hypothetically, like I don't have this power, right? But I can make a suggestion to be like, we should have universal basic income for everyone who lives in the municipality. Is it legal? Not right now. But I will make it legal. Yeah.
Perfect.
Like, dude, private schools practically banned if we had the power to do so. Now I'm in opposition, so I can't actually do any of that stuff. And even if I was in the majority, it's a big chance that like many of the other parties in the coalition probably still wouldn't be okay with that, because like we work with the environmental party. The environmental party is kind of neoliberal in a lot of areas, so like practicalities still come, but like I can still make the suggestion. I can like there's a point of like power that I find really fun, because like I have a big document now on my computer where it's just like bills and proposals that I'm going to suggest, that I'm going to do, and I'm going to argue for them. None of them will pass, but I can still argue for them, and that's kind of cool that like if I can convince some people to do it, it can actually happen.
That's sweet.
The one that's actually probably most likely to pass is the one where I'm going to say that anyone who works for the municipal government needs to be LGBT certified.
Perfect.
And that's the closest thing I can get. Like they need everyone needs a gay education. But hypothetically,
you need to be gay. You need to be certified gay. You have to get your gay
license. You need to be certifiably gay.
Yes.
You need to have a card carrying gay if you're going to work for the municipality.
I'm sorry, this is just.
So yeah, I hide that in the fine print of the bill.
Now there's a like a sort of story there where like a society is developed where like LGBTQ people have just de facto became the political caste of society?
Yeah, anarcho-gayism.
Okay, let's see here. Anarcho-gayism, yes. That's what queer anarchism is, everybody. Okay, thank you for the 5 GBP. That's about a nickel now, I think, right? Sorry. I read.
I'm actually fine with the exchange rate like collapsing, and because the dollar is really strong compared to the Swedish krona. So even though like every YouTuber is having their Patreon like go down slowly because the economy is in shambles, because the Swedish crown is dog shit compared to the dollar, I'm making more money.
Yeah, Canada has that as bad as well.
Yeah. So every YouTuber I know is just like, yay! And every American I know is just, no.
One of my favorite things is that because Standard pays you in American money, like every time I see the dollar amount that they're giving me, they're like, you're going to get 80% of this. But then what they give me is like, if it's like 500 USD and they take away the 20%, I get over $500 Canadian. So I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's good with me.
Feels great.
Yes. But thank you for the 5 British pounds. I appreciate it. And also the person who I hire to make my thumbnails is British, which means that it might be cheaper to make my next thumbnail, which is nice. Yes. Everybody, if you want to make a great thumbnail, talk to Hot Cider. Hot Cider, really good. Does Jacob Geller's thumbnails. And I decided to scoop him up because he's so good. Anyways, I read an alternate history where a nuclear war kills 83% of the human race in 1983. Do you think that's under or overstatement? Depending upon the scope of nuclear war, the idea is that it's probably an overstatement. A nuclear exchange combined with nuclear winter is expected today, with a population of 8 billion, to kill about 5 billion people, which would be about 56 to 60% of the population. So 83% is a little bit of an overshot, but at that case, like what numbers are we even talking about at this point? We're talking about billions of people dying. We're already talking about an unrecognizable planet. And also, you'll find this fun. I went and got my hair cut last week. And my hair cutter, my barber, she's British. And one of the things we always talk about is British politics every time we come in. And one of the first things we noticed when I came in and got my haircut is that the time between my 2 haircuts, there was an entire prime minister. There's an entire prime minister's term.
Yeah.
And now...
Damn, the UK's falling apart, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, what's it called? Now, like, well, the thing is, like, it's a very funny situation because it's one of those times where the party in charge doesn't want to call an election because they know that they would get absolutely destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
But they are the ruling party, so they need to have a prime minister. But nobody in their right mind would run for leadership of the party right now because they know that whoever is going to be leader is just going to have their entire life destroyed by... like their entire political careers is going to be ruined because they're basically navigating like one of the darkest periods in British history. And
I feel like they're just going around the parliamentary group, because if you're prime minister for like even a day or something, then you get like lifetime retirement money from the taxpayers, and they just want that, so they're just gonna go around the team.
Yeah, I heard,
like while they can.
I heard scuttlebutt that like Boris Johnson's trying to make a comeback.
He didn't want to run against Rishi Sunak, but no one wanted to run against Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, so like in like 3 weeks when Rishi Sunak's gone, then Boris Johnson like could go for it. Can you imagine if they go through all this shit just to get Bojo back? That would be hilarious.
Christ.
And that also means that we are definitely going to look forward to our future where we're going to see cool things like... let me just check something real quick. I'm looking forward to the reign of future political British politics. And since crazy enough stuff's going to happen, we're going to have Prime Minister Ed Davey that is the current leader of the Lib Dem party, the Liberal Democrats.
Because the liberal, like a lot of people are like almost expecting the Lib Dems to take over from the Tories if the Conservatives like keep crashing as much as they are in the polls. How are they doing in the polls, by the way? They must be doing dog shit.
I know at their nadir, they were like at 3% or something like that support.
Oh Jesus! Oh, they bounced back a little bit with Rishi. Their Labour is only 26 points ahead.
Yeah, I'm like, seeing that number, I'm just like, okay, how do we get Jeremy Corbyn back in charge of the Labour Party right now? And then force an election to happen. If we could just do that right now, UK might be okay.
Might be. Yeah, because like, did you see the thing the other day about where Keir Starmer like started talking about like how he didn't think trans kids should be allowed to socially transition without the consent of their parents?
God damn it, Britain! Stop. Bad
I know,
Britain.
right? It's like even when like the good guys win, it's like, oh yeah. No matter who wins, trans people lose.
We got to get Britain ADHD medication because they are definitely suffering from this hyperfocus and they need to like snap out of it. Like I know I have ADHD. I know when I can't get a stupid thing out of my head. But UK, stop being this like hating trans people thing is not a good look. Dear God. I like how you can just post almost every day now. Actually, I love that the meme has evolved. The Abigail Thorne picture of time for Britain to get even more normal, but now people are like posting it every day, and it gets more and more distorted. Because
it keeps getting worse.
Yeah, it's like I love it, but like the fact that like I've seen a few times now of iterations where the meme just gets reposted and just more and more digital distortions being added to the picture. Oh, man. Yeah. The Europeans are all off because daylight savings time. And especially because you're going to get double fucked over because our daylight savings time is this Sunday. So it's going to be back to normal next week.
Great.
I love how we've been streaming together now for like 3 years,
something like that.
Maybe over 3 years. I think we started in 2019 sometime.
Jesus.
So it's been like 3 years since we've been streaming together, and every single time daylight savings time happens, we get caught off by it because we're like, god damn it, the 1 week difference always was like, I forgot about this.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what we can get. Oh, yes, happy. Okay. So, I think you'll find this is actually some very good news. And Matt Lipton, thank you for bringing it up. So, and this, first of all, this will sound like extremely like something that only a British country could do, or a British-based country could do. So I imagine that this would not fly in Sweden. So, the teachers. A coalition of the union for the teachers of like university and like primary level went on strike. And the Tory government basically legislated them back to work. They passed a law forcing them to stop the strike. And this thing happens a lot. This is a thing that happens fairly regularly in Canada now. Basically, if a liberal or conservative government is in charge, they'll instead of handling a strike, they'll just pass a law making the strike illegal. But CUP,
great.
Yeah, and then, so they did that this time. But in order to do it, you have to basically make the case that you are like the reason why you're able to legislate like strikes back to work is usually because they are like their labor is part of some essential service, like a railroad strike during the middle of World War II or something like that.
Yeah.
So they were like, you can't do this, Doug Ford. This is super unconstitutional. And then then he invoked the notwithstanding clause, which is sort of like the get out of Constitution free card that every province has, where they can say that if the Constitution violates something, but it's like an essential part of the province's culture and identity, then you can do it anyway. And he's just used it to ignore any constitutional things that he doesn't feel like following.
Wonderful.
Yeah, fun note on notwithstanding clause is that Quebec was basically like fucked over by the other provinces in the most recent iteration of the Constitution. Like they were not consulted. They actually consulted behind Quebec's back to pass the current Constitution. And so for like 15 years, the Quebec government passed every single law in their province invoking the notwithstanding clause, even if it had nothing to do with the Constitution. They would just mention that they are doing it without consulting the Constitution, basically. Which is like a very Quebec move to do. But yeah.
Every time I hear about Canadian politics, and specifically Doug Ford, I lose my mind a little bit.
Doug Ford is fucking crazy. Basically, what we learned is he got reelected this year, and the number one lesson we all have to learn is never give the Tories a second term, because it always ends up with like just they try to do these like massive cuts, and like every union goes on strike. Like there hasn't been like a second term of Tory government that hasn't been met with like a teacher's strike, a nurse strike, like just constant like strikes and like labor problems, because they always try to slash government employee budgets basically. Yeah. So they tried to fuck over the unionized labor with it, but apparently the union's going wildcat. They're finally living up Alice's dream of having a wildcat strike. And so they are a wildcat strike is when you are legislated back to work, but you keep striking anyway.
Yeah.
Basically an illegal strike. And so I don't know where that's going to go, especially because the strikers know that the Canadian Constitution is on their side. So we'll see where that goes.
That'll be very interesting to see, yeah.
But that's Canadian politics right now. Or that's Ontario politics right now. They say they will strike indefinitely. Yes. It's beautiful. I love it. What's it called? I don't know where this is going to go with Doug Ford's government, but it seems
going somewhere.
Yeah. All right, let's see what we got next. In 2020, Harry Turtledove collaborated on a novel set in a version of 2030 where the Republicans have been in power for 14 years and the country is effectively a one-party dictatorship under Mike Pence. Oh, God. Trump dies of COVID in 2024. LOL. Okay, so it's already a better universe.
Yeah.
Trump dying of COVID would be the single funniest thing to happen in American history.
We were so close to greatness.
Yes, that would have... I remember somebody posting during that time one of the most prescient lines, which was, "People, we are very close to possibly one of the funniest moments in American history." Abortion is illegal. All queer people are legally treated as sex offenders. Non-Christian religions are virtually illegal. The entire mainstream media has been nationalized and turned over to Fox. Oh, God.
God in heaven.
Yeah, so known that Harry Turtledove is known to come up with some pretty implausible timelines, do you think it's possible for him opting to write a book that might actually lead to people taking the threat from the far right less seriously? Like, I can easily imagine somebody... Okay, I get it. I will say this. Harry Turtledove does not have that much reach, I am unfortunate to say. He is a niche author in a... He is a big fish in a small pond, in the fact that he is probably the only alternate history author who has been published more than like twice. But he's not a household name.
Yeah, no one knows who he is except for like history nerds online like us. Yeah.
So don't. So yeah, maybe some weird, and also the people who do know him take him, in my esteem, more seriously than they should. Because
yes.
So in many ways, I think it'll be fine, because if anything, people take him too seriously, even though his books are,
his books are very, very silly.
Yes. So that's that.
They all end with the Confederacy coming back one way or another.
Yeah, it's weird how he keeps doing that. Except so his like major series, if I remember correctly, he does Civil War, but the Confederates win, which is like the most like yawn has-been thing.
Yeah.
The only like interesting one that he has, but then I tried reading the book and it was awful because it had 40 point of view characters.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
was one where basically aliens invade during World War II.
Is that Henry Tolda?
Yeah, and the Axis and Allies have to set aside their differences to fight the alien threat.
Odd.
And then I think there's another one that's like World War II, but the UK gets involved with like the annexation of Czechoslovakia instead of the annexation of Poland. And I don't know what the difference is on that. I just know that that's the point of divergence, basically. That like
doesn't that one end with the Nazis winning somehow?
Probably. That sounds like Harry Turtledove. Harry Turtledove, you okay, bud? Why do you keep having the bad guys win the wars?
Yeah. It's weird.
It's why the best alternate history novel I ever read was The Year of Rice and Salt, which is a utopian alternate history where things are better. Because it's an alternate history where the Black Death kills 99% of all human life in Europe, and there are basically no white people.
Life could be a dream.
That's basic. And the thing is that he doesn't pull any punches because basically, like, Muslims don't have as much of an interest in colonizing shit.
Yeah, don't need to. Can just go through like Egypt. It's fine.
And like Muslims do like repopulate Europe eventually, but like the indigenous people just kind of develop on their own and build their own society, and like the Chinese become this like globe-spanning empire, and it's like, oh, okay, sure. And then there's also Muslim Karl Marx at the end. It's great. It has all the things you want in a book.
Love that.
Yeah, Kim Stanley Robinson, great author. All right.
I'm just reminded by the show. What's it called? For All Mankind, which is also like a weirdly utopian.
Yeah, it's like an alternate history that's based because there's a Soviet Union still, and they're
Soviet
on Mars.
Union, 2004 or some shit.
Did you finish the show?
I haven't had time.
Okay.
I've been busy with the fucking election, but
we need to want to. Because near the end of season 3, there is the greatest twist in television history, and I need to talk to you about it when it happens.
I want to see it.
Because it is set up, but it's set up so subtly that after you see it, you're like, ah! I hate that I love this so much. And I'm like, and then I found out that it was made by one of the Deep Space Nine writers, and I'm like, of course.
Of course. The only part of it the last part I've seen of it so far is when the tourism space station breaks.
Yes, that's like the first episode of season 3, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I still have a fair bit to go, but like, fuck, that show kicks ass.
Yeah. The Years of Rice and Salt. There is an audiobook for that. How did the Soviet Union survive until 2004? They established that the Soviet Union doesn't fuck around with Afghanistan, and that's the reason why.
Yeah, because they put more money into space because they won the space race to the moon. Mm-hmm. So they just keep going into space, which is good technologically, and they just get better technology. Electric cars become like the standard by like 1970.
Yeah, and like by the 1990s, I don't think you got here yet, but by the 1990s, the world's running on fusion power.
Yeah, because they're powered from like helium from the moon.
Yeah.
Like they have clean energy. They fixed global warming by like 1995. Mm-hmm. Just like, God, I wish I was in that world. I wish.
Yep.
They do shoot each other a little bit on the moon once, but like that's a small price to pay.
Yeah. It's like it's honestly probably one of the best shows on TV right now. It's
legitimately amazing.
Yeah, it's called For All Mankind. It's an Apple show because Apple is now on the original series grift now. I guess they made that one show, Ted Lasso, that apparently is everyone's liking. I haven't seen it, but everyone's talking.
I haven't seen it either. I've seen some episodes, and apparently it is really good, but I don't know.
Yeah. I also do like that season 3 of the show deals a lot with basically 90s Elon Musk. Not actual Elon Musk, but a guy who is basically Elon Musk. And he turns out to be shitty in all the same ways Elon Musk is.
Color me surprised.
Yeah. But again, you're gonna I already can tell that there's going to be it's going to be like 3:30 in the morning here, and I'm going to get a DM from you being like, I can't believe that this is the thing.
I bet.
The fucking twist. Like, it's like the second last episode of the season, they do like this hugest twist, and you're like, what the fuck?
Oh God, I can't wait. Because I've been because like I've been drenched deep in like new political work and then finishing this video. So like tomorrow I finally have some free time, so I'll try to binge.
I just like, because like someone was asking like, hey, who's not watching? There's like one of the people that I follow. She's like a turbo like resistance lib, but she like studies the far right, so we like follow each other. But she like is a really big fan of The Handmaid's Tale, and she was like, why aren't you watching The Handmaid's Tale? Why? Basically asking in general, like, what, like, everybody who's not watching The Handmaid's Tale and why? And I'm like, it's too miserable.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I love that I love, like, For All Mankind is like possibly the most hopeful show you'll ever get. And the essential essence of every show is that human beings do great things when they work together and focus on doing things for everybody and not just narrow national interest. That is the theme of the show, which is great.
God, what a good show.
It's so good, and it uses deepfakes in a really clever way and historical footage, and it's just like, yeah, the president's gay. It's perfect. Because I don't know if you got far enough. No, like the gay woman, the woman who's like a closeted gay astronaut.
Does she become the president?
She's fucking, yeah, she's the president. She's Republican president in like in the 1990s.
I've loved her arc, honestly,
Yeah.
like her political arc.
It's
So I'm not surprised that that's where it's going. So it's not a very big spoiler, but I'm very glad that that's where it's going.
Yeah, it's so great. There's so many great stuff. Like season 3 is pretty good. It also, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man, there's so many things. You got to watch it so I can talk to you about it.
Oh fuck yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm probably gonna binge it this weekend.
Yeah. All right. Just to start, if this question can't be answered due to contracts, please forget me asking. You are part of Nebula. What is the upside to being a part of Nebula? I heard that Nebula does not make you any money and is pretty much not are hardly censored. First of all, Nebula does not make you any money. That is not true. I have made money through Nebula.
Oh yeah, Nebula makes you so much freaking money.
Nebula tripled my income.
Yeah, same here. Like, say what you want about Nebula, but like they
deliver.
pay my bills now.
Yeah. If you're just talking about straight up like Nebula the site, even that still is decent. It's the what's it called? The return on that is similar to what I get through AdSense for way fewer views. So
yeah,
it's great.
I
have no negative thing to say about Nebula at all, and that's not even Negan contracted.
Yeah, they're very hands off with their sort of like client handling. Like I'm pretty sure that I could probably slander Nebula and they would be fine with it.
Yeah,
I'm not, but I'm pretty sure I could.
Yeah, it's YouTubing can feel like you are very alone and very unsupported, and that everything is awful. And Nebula is like, joining Nebula has gotten me to a situation where the first time I felt like truly like supported and like the stuff that I'm doing matters to somebody, and that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it literally said, like, what's it called? I might not be YouTubing right now if it wasn't for Nebula, basically, because I was in some choppy financial waters a few months ago, right before Nebula picked me up. All right. Why have flying cars been a feature in a lot of interpretations of the future? Even after a century of nothing practical, they still cannot occasionally appear in science fiction.
Those are cool.
They are cool. They're like, what's it called? It's because they showed up a lot in like old, like mid 20th century media, basically.
Yeah.
Like, jets and stuff. And yeah, it's not going to be practical in a certain way, but I've been following the development of what are called EVTOLs, and the development of solid-state batteries, which are probably about a decade away. Solid-state batteries being batteries that do not have a liquid core and are way lighter and contain way more energy than old batteries that are sort of in development right now. And EVTOL stands for Electric Vertical Takeoff and Landing Vehicles. So basically what they are drones that can carry people in them.
Ooh.
And the idea is that you might not be driving the flying car, but it could be that in the not too distant future there might be something like flying taxis, basically, that fly themselves. Because I imagine, I don't know for sure, but I feel like the technical hurdles of self-driving safe drones is easier than self-driving cars.
Yeah, I actually agree.
All right, which pays more, Nebula views or YouTube Premium views? YouTube Premium, or what's it called? Nebula definitely pays more. YouTube Premium just is like a percentage of my overall AdSense, and my overall AdSense income is probably, I'd probably say it's about double what Nebula gives. Like, if I were to average,
but that's also with like way fewer views as well on Nebula.
Yes, yeah. So like the amount of so like the thing is, like, with way fewer views, I'm getting like half of what I make through AdSense, and that's also because I'm brand new to the platform too, and my entire back catalog hasn't been uploaded yet.
Yeah, like so, I honestly feel like because I think my experience here is that like a Nebula view is like orders of magnitude more impactful than a YouTube Premium view.
Yeah, thank you for the $2 super chat, by the way. Yeah, Pinball Witch, if you want to know what is the best place to watch your favorite creators if they are on Nebula and you have YouTube Premium, is Nebula.
Yeah.
Plus,
it just pays better.
Yeah. Plus, like, there's a lot of moves where there's like in the near term future, there's probably going to be more exclusive content, and there's going to be like there's this whole I don't know what we're allowed to talk about yet, but there's some stuff coming up where there's going to be like exclusive content in the future. So it's definitely the thing to get, and also it's stupid cheap. Like, I know that YouTube Premium,
you can get it for like a year.
Yeah, YouTube Premium's $20 a month, and you can pay like for not even that, you can get an entire year of Nebula. So
yeah, and CuriosityStream. Go to curiositystream.com/MiaMulder and use the code to get.
No, go to curiositystream.com
for less than $15 a year.
$14.79. That's 26% off. I've read that copy so many times.
Me too.
So go to curiositystream.com and then curiositystream.com/MiaMulder step back, and then see what happens.
Yeah, get rejected from the site.
Put in the one that is your favorite. There you go. Or get 2 separate Nebula accounts, signing up with each code.
Still cheaper than Netflix.
It's still cheaper than Netflix, yeah.
I think it's also cheaper than YouTube Premium, honestly, isn't it?
YouTube Premium is about $20 a month, so yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit! Are you kidding me?
Well, it's $20.
Okay, then like the amount of money that you're paying for Nebula, like, I'm sorry, but like the amount of money you're paying for Nebula, which is like $10 a year, is like incomparable. Yeah. It's surprising to me that Nebula is profitable, because it is. And like it's surprising to me that is the case.
Yeah, it's a combination of Nebula's income, because Nebula's got like a sort of critical mass of users, and it's also the fact that it's they have like the sponsorship money too, like.
Well, that's standard, so it's technically actually 2 different companies.
Oh, I thought.
But they're both profitable.
Yeah, I don't know. It works. They're wizards.
They're wizards. I don't know. Dave is a fucking wizard.
Yeah, so David's sorcery somehow keeps it all going. So it's good stuff. All right, a couple of times I've heard you say that if you used to be in the far right, people don't have to forgive you. Do you feel differently about if we're talking about someone who was indoctrinated as a child and got out while they were young? The other day I listened to an interview with someone that was raised in a right-wing militia compound but rejected that ideology in her late teens because her parents made the mistake of sending her to a regular high school where she could actually meet people of color and learn real history. Yeah, I think there is a difference when you're like raised in your child. Yeah, that's for sure. But even so, I still don't think like that. Like it's more understandable from my perspective. But I also am not the kind of person who will be victimized by people in the far right, and I don't think it's my place to tell anybody whether or not they have to forgive somebody, because that's a whole thing you have to go through on your own.
I feel like it's one of those things where it's like if you do something unforgivable, right? Whether or not you just have heinous beliefs, I feel like that is something that is like that is like a big part of where the issue comes in, right? Because you can do pretty bad things, and obviously like you're not going to. That's going to be really difficult to be forgiven for that. But like if you just have like shitty beliefs, that could lead you to do something, but you don't actually do it, then I feel like that's something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for real. Like, but even then, at the end of the day, like if you were even if you were a child who's indoctrinated into fascist belief, and you get out, and you didn't commit any hate crimes while you were in, if a Jewish person decides that they don't want to associate with you, like, I know it's not, it sucks, but like, I get it.
But like, that's their prerogative, you know?
Yeah, I'm not going to fault them for that.
Yeah.
But that's, that is different for different people, and keep in mind that, different people are different people, and I am in no place to tell them whether or not they should forgive somebody. That's sort of the end of the day. All right, we got one last question and 4 minutes left in the stream, so let's see if we can do it.
Wonderful.
Why has Bolsonaro so far accepted his loss in the election? This was sent on 31st of October. If there was a 180 and he begins to dispute it later, why did he wait while to do so? So basically, from what I know, the situation is that he has not conceded the election, but his staff have quietly gone to Lula's people and been like starting the transition process.
Yeah.
And apparently, I don't know what the details on this are, but like Bolsonaro just like pulled like a Stalin when Barbarossa happened, and he like hid in his house and didn't talk to anybody for like several days.
Yeah.
And then I guess rapidly left and went somewhere else, and I don't know where he is now, but like
from what I heard, like a big reason for why he sort of did that is because like immediately after the election, like military leaders and everything was like, okay, good election, congratulations. Just like a lot of heads of various police forces and like people high up in like Bolsonaro's staff, all of them were like very quick and vocal about like, good job, election over, we have lost, very, very well, good, continue on.
So basically, like he basically just realized he didn't have the resources for the coup.
Yeah, that's basically what I heard. Like from like that, a lot of people like high up in the military, they were like, no, we're not gonna. And they were like immediately like, don't try, we're not gonna go with it, we're gonna like immediately just like reject it.
Yeah,
sucks.
So this
sucks
is
for you.
Unambiguously amazing news. Not only is that a great sign for the future of Brazil for many ways, but it also shows that like, because like Brazil's a very young country, like as a democracy, like Brazil, I think only became a democracy in the 80s. And the thing about democracies is that they sort of get more resilient as they get older, in the sense that like the institutions feel like they are more immortal and have longer like lives and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So
the fact that people were concerned that there might be a coup, because there are people old enough to remember when a military dictatorship happened, so the democratic government's still seen as sort of like a new thing. And the fact that it was able to resist a attempted coup before it even started is really good news. Now, Lula's first act was to propose a possible South American currency that would get them off of reliance on the American dollar and sort of break the Monroe Doctrine, which does put Lula high on the list of people who will commit suicide by being shot 6 times in the back. But, good news overall if he can pull that off. I think, I don't know, do you have anything to add to this?
Not really. Yeah, I'm happy that like most of Latin and South America are now like governed by left people.
Yeah.
Like Brazil, that is a unilaterally good thing, I think.
Yeah, good job, Brazil. I'm a little like I'm glad that democracy somehow pulled through, despite like all
only just.
Only just. But hey, it happened. And
I saw a wonderful tweet the other day where it's like, why is every election like glazed donut, Nana's house on fire, and it's like 50-50.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just like
yeah. Or it's like now or in France it's just like it's shit, or it's like eat shit or get covered in napalm, your choice. And like, oh god damn it.
It's like bad and horrific.
Yeah. All right, so it is 2:00. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find your stuff and who you are?
Oh,
and what you
wonderful.
do?
I have a new ending spiel for when I am on other people's content, so I'm gonna do that now. If you want my YouTube stuff, you can go to miamulder.com and it will take you to my YouTube channel where I make videos. If you want podcast content, you can go to wherever you get your podcast and search for Leech Fest for
Nice.
medical history content, which is very nice, I think. If you want gaming content, you should go to twitch.tv /miamulder, where I play games occasionally. And if you want political content, send an email to me.
Stockholm.
Yeah, live in Sollentuna municipality and send an email to mia.mulder@sollentuna.se for your municipal grievances.
Yep.
And I will maybe not reply to you because all of those emails are public emails.
All of your furry stuff direct to.
Don't send me shit on that one unless it's like legitimate political things. But I think it's funny to say it. So some poor like secretary working in like the municipal office has to eventually archive all of those emails from that email address.
Your house
so, like,
Carl is going to be like, your assistant's going to be like, all right, you're going to receive a lot of really weird emails.
You need to stop posting this email like on your Twitter. I know you're speaking to the electorate, but like none of these people live in the municipality.
They're literally sending us emails in English, or at least what I think is English.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that is where you can find all of my content. I need to fix my fucking website so that all of these things can be on one place.
In the meantime, you
but
should just make like a
I'm lazy.
link tree or something.
I should, but like, who has the time?
And you can find all of my work at curiositystream.com/stepback. You can find great work that I did.
Yeah.
And some other people's stuff too.
It's good timing because like I'm looking at the render window like on the side my second monitor, and I'm literally rendering the Curiosity Stream ad as we're speaking.
It's perfect. We're gonna raid Rob Russo. Ooh, that was a fun set of things to say. And then
Raid Rob Russo.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna go take a walk with my baby. Maybe go get some coffee at Starbucks.
What an adult thing to do.
Yeah. All right, everybody, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I'll be back next Friday for the solo discourse, just me discoursing. And, yeah.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care.